told the wife we had an intruder in the house. She was a little panicked at first, and then once she saw what I was talking about, she was not amused. There are plenty of YouTube channels with great modelers who have great production skills. This is not one of them. Welcome to Cable's Creations. Well, hello, fellow glue sniffers and paint huffers and assorted people of the plastic. So I'm back at Yankee Station and hopefully going to get some more work done on this intruder. So I'm going to get some of those parts pre-painted. Going to look for any gaps to fill on the fuselage. Then probably do some masking and spot primering once I get that done, and hopefully get some more assembly done. So I got those two Tomcats already finished, so fewer projects to work on and get in the way. Speaking of getting in the way, don't really have any big family plans, and there's only one college football game this week, so hopefully I can get a lot of work done this time. And if I can get enough work done this time, and the next time I'm here, get it finished by the deadline for the Vietnam build. Who knows, Max might push that back depending on how much flying he's going to be having to do. Okay, this is mysterious. Had the panel that was over that, it's still here on this side, it's just disappeared. I don't know if it got stuck to the tape when I was closing the fuselage halves and it got tossed, or it fell off somewhere. I have looked all over the bench and can't find it. So I'm wondering if it got stuck to some of the tape and accidentally ended up in the garbage. Also up here, I've got some of the rubberized super glue, trying that as a seam filler. Also, I put a little piece of sheet styrene in there to keep it from just falling through. And you can see where some of it was actually doing just that. Some of that looks like it still needs a little bit to go over it where it only partially filled the gap. I think I'm just going to take a piece of thin sheet styrene and get it into there. Just to match up with this. Won't have any detail on it, but oh well. Well, I didn't really video as I was working, but I got the red parts of these various flaps done, and did some sanding and repriming over here, and underneath that tape is a piece I added in, and also started getting that piece re-added. I think I may need another real thin piece of styrene over the top of that. That piece disappeared. I also got the exhaust nozzles and primer, and primered the those are fuses for the snake eye bombs, and I got snake eye bombs assembled. Also got the ordnance racks done, intakes put together, and also the exhaust parts put together except for the final nozzle. I'm going to get to work on these various sub-assemblies. All right, well, got just a little bit of that gap filled in again. Also have one wing attached. Fit is not that great, did not want to go in, and in fact, when trying to put this other wing on, it snapped. One of the things I'm figuring out about this kit over and over is over-engineering, trying to make things very, very complex that just doesn't want to fit. Another one of those kits that just really makes me appreciate Tamiya. So what I've done, you know, this seems like it could fit, but just to be sure, I've drilled some holes and then have some really thin rods that I'm going to use to pin this thing in, just to make sure it has enough stability. Oh, I got this part of the wing on, and it can barely see. It's making contact up front, and we got a big gap, and underneath the tape it's making contact at the back. So I got two pretty sizable gaps to take care of there, and I've actually got the parts here on the bottom together real nice. Got that done. I've got some initial gap filling here where I've put in some sheet styrene. Gonna trim that down, and largely trimming it down and filling it that way so that I can put in some like Vallejo type acrylic putty once it's to get the last and get things really smooth there. And I've also put the inserts into the wing. They made it where you could display it either folded or wings out. It's got those two little connectors, which I don't trust, so I got these, I trimmed up these little aluminum tubes to hopefully help hold the wings better. Okay, pretty much got that styrene filler out and down. Well, it looks like just a little more cleanup to do on it. That was just a little remnant piece there, but got just a little bit there. And a little bit there. Got that fairly well built up. Gonna put some that red Bondo spot glazing putty in there and then start sanding that down. Get it to match everything. What was kind of funny is I was cutting that styrene off right there. I was listening to a playlist I call Miscellaneous, and Bryan Adams' Cuts Like a Knife was playing while I was finishing, while I was actually doing the cutting there. I thought that was kind of a little funny. Had a soundtrack to what I was doing. Okay, got that Bondo putty on there, so then I'm gonna let that dry, get into sanding that, sanding this, maybe just a little sanding around those areas, just to clean things up a bit before I put the acrylic type putty in there. I'll leave that be for a while here. It's interesting how some of the glazing putty cracked as it dried. It's actually really cold out here today. That may have had something to do with it, but I'll at least get some initial sanding done, and from that figure out if I'm gonna need to add some more putty in there or not. Just, I won't go too far, you know, with like perfect sanding until I know whether or not I'm going to need some more, which I'm seeing that big chunk down there. I'm kind of thinking I will. Well, today is Saturday the 13th of January. Cold front just came through last night. So all I'm doing is basically got some sanding work done right around here. And this feels like really smooth, but not gonna do any primer work. I'm gonna do just a little bit more assembly on this because I'm not trusting paint to stick today. So I'm only gonna work with assembly work. I'm gonna get those two big panels in there and maybe just a few little other bits. Yeah, the tail hook area fell out while I was doing some sanding, so that's going to be fun to get that back in there. But just with these temps, I don't trust any kind of paint, including primer, to go on properly. So all I'll do is some assembly, maybe some filling and sanding, but that's it. Okay, I've been talking about fit issues, and if you notice these two parts on the bottom here, just a little bit too long. Thing about it is that part that's black, that's part of the fuselage. You know, single piece running back from there to here. White part is part that goes in between. So they just, you know, their tolerances just weren't quite right. So I'm going to have to sand and or file some off the back just to get it to go in. I know that's the kit and not me this time. A little bit of use of a file got them to snap in. And actually they snapped in with such authority I didn't even want to bother trying to take them out, so I'm not sure I could have. So they are now in there and glued in place, and I think that's going to do it for this week. There's a few little bits and bobs that go in here as well, and I think just wait and get it in, at least into primer, before putting those in, because any filling and sanding that I do could potentially knock them off. Same thing for that little tail hook deck area. Somehow I got a feeling that any additional sanding I do where I've created a new panel, anything I do with that is just going to knock that thing back out. So I think we're going to leave it there for now. And that might be it for, and I do believe that'll be it for the week. Well, somewhat productive week. Also relieved to learn that the Vietnam build is not due quite as fast as I thought it was. And especially with having to replace that panel. But I got some fairly good work done and was able to move forward. So I think next time I'll be doing some spot priming to see what all I need to get fixed. Also doing some little bit of more filling around the wing roots, get the acrylic putty in there. But that'll be last before getting the getting into primer. I may just do that with some spot priming. And also, talking about the spot priming, I think I'm going to use some of the Badger acrylic primer, especially over that panel area, so that it'll be an acrylic primer and kind of seal it from the Mr. Surfacer that I'll use for the final priming. Reason being, since I use that red putty, I think it's dissolvable in lacquer thinner. That's just a little fine point to think about whenever you use the various putties, is the thinner of what primer you're going to be using over it, is that going to dissolve it? Oh, well, so till next time, showing you mine to hopefully make you feel better about yours.